The Woman and the Last Candle. The night the world went dark, it did not do so with thunder or fire. It went dark quietly, like a decision made without asking permission. Lamps flickered once and surrendered. Streets emptied into shadow. Windows became mirrors reflecting fear back into the homes that held it. And in the center of a city that no longer trusted the sun to return, a woman stood alone in a narrow apartment, staring at a single candle burning on her table. It was the last one. Not the last in her home. The last anywhere. She knew this because she had watched the others disappear, one flame at a time, until only hers remained. Her name no longer mattered. Names were for a world that remembered tomorrow. What mattered was the flame. Small, steady, defiant. It bent when the air shifted, but it did not die. The woman sat down slowly, afraid that even her breath might be too much. Outside, the city groaned, a wounded animal learning how to exist without light. People whispered in hallways. Some cried. Some prayed to gods they had ignored when light was abundant. The woman did neither. She watched. She had not always been this way. Once, she had loved brightness, rooms filled with laughter, mornings flooded with sun. But the darkness had taught her something brutal and precise. Light meant nothing if no one was willing to protect it. The candle crackled softly, as if agreeing. A knock came at the door. It was hesitant. 3 taps. A pause. 2 more. The sound of someone who did not want to be heard but could not survive being ignored. The woman did not move. If she opened the door, the light would spill into the hallway. And light now was currency, power, a reason for desperate people to forget who they used to be. Another knock. Louder. Please, a voice said. I saw it. I saw the light. The woman closed her eyes. This was how it started. She had heard the stories before the darkness reached her building. 1 candle became 100 enemies. She stood, lifted the candle, and moved it deeper into the room, shielding the flame with her body. Then she opened the door just enough to be seen, not enough to reveal the glow behind her. A man stood there, hollow-eyed, shaking. My child, he said. She's afraid of the dark. I told her stories about stars. I told her the light would come back. I lied. The woman studied him. Fear could lie. Desperation could perform. But grief had weight. This man carried it in his shoulders. No, she said quietly. The word hit harder than a scream. The man's face collapsed inward. He nodded once, already breaking, and stepped back into the darkness. The woman closed the door and leaned against it, heart pounding, shame burning hot and useless in her chest. She returned to the table and set the candle down. The flame wavered but held. Hours passed. Then more knocks. Different voices. Same request. Each time she refused. Each time, the darkness outside grew louder, angrier, more human. She heard arguments. Fights. Someone screamed when a match failed to spark. Someone laughed too hard at nothing. Near dawn, the candle sputtered. The woman's breath caught. She leaned forward instinctively, shielding it, whispering words she did not know she remembered. The flame steadied, smaller now, weaker. That was when she understood. The candle was not dying because of time. It was dying because of her. Light, real light, was not meant to be hoarded. It was meant to be spent. The realization terrified her. Because if she was right, then keeping the candle alive meant letting it go. She stood, candle in hand, and walked to the window. She pulled the curtain back. The building across the street was a black silhouette. So were the people standing below, staring upward, drawn by instinct to what they could not name. The woman opened the window. Cold air rushed in. The flame bent violently, nearly extinguishing itself. I'm sorry, she whispered, not to the candle, but to herself. She raised it high. Light spilled into the street like a confession. A gasp rippled through the crowd. Faces turned upward, eyes wide, reflecting the glow as if remembering how to hope. The woman's arms trembled. The candle burned faster now, the wax crying down its sides. Someone shouted. Someone cheered. Someone ran. Footsteps thundered in the stairwell. The woman did not move. She held the candle until the knocking reached her door again, this time not hesitant, not polite. She turned, still holding the flame, and waited. To breathe, the door burst inward before she could decide whether to open it. Wood cracked. Hinges screamed. 3 figures rushed in, breathless, eyes locked on the flame like starving animals spotting food. The woman stepped back, instinctively lifting the candle higher, her body already bracing for impact. "Easy," she said, her voice steady despite the fear clawing her ribs. "If it goes out, that's it." They froze. Light did that. It reminded people of consequences. One of them spoke, hands raised. "We just want to see," he said. "Just for a second." The woman scanned their faces. Not monsters, just people stripped down to need. She lowered the candle slightly. The room filled with warm light, revealing cracked walls, tired eyes, trembling hands. "You can look," she said, "but you don't touch." They nodded too fast. She knew they were already lying to themselves. More people poured in behind them, drawn by the glow. The apartment filled with bodies and breath and whispers. Someone began to cry quietly. Someone else laughed, hysterical. The flame shrank. "Listen to me," the woman said, louder now. "This light will not last if you take from it, but it will last if you carry it." Blank stares. She took a breath and did the unthinkable. She tilted the candle, letting a drop of flame catch on a piece of cloth torn from her sleeve. The fire took, small and fragile. She handed it to the nearest woman, whose hands shook violently as she accepted it. "Go," the woman said. "Find another wick. Share it." The woman hesitated. "What if it dies?" "It will," she replied, "if you hide." One by one, she did it again. Each new flame cost her candle strength. The room filled with tiny lights moving away, down stairwells, into streets, carried by people who had been trusted with something sacred. The original candle was now a stump, its flame thin and blue. Finally, only the woman remained. She sat on the floor, candle between her palms, feeling its heat weaken. Outside, the city began to change. Not bright. Never that again. But dotted. Alive. Windows glowed faintly. Streets held moving stars. The candle flickered violently. She smiled. When it went out, the darkness did not rush back in. The room remained dimly lit by light borrowed from elsewhere, light that had not existed an hour before. A knock came at the broken door. The same man from earlier stood there, his daughter in his arms. In her hand, a small flame danced. "Look," the child said softly. "We caught one." The woman felt tears burn her eyes. She nodded. "You did." The man hesitated. "Come with us." The woman looked at the stub of wax in her hands. The last candle. Or what had been. "No," she said gently. "Someone has to remember how it started." They left. The woman remained, sitting in a room that was no longer afraid of the dark. Outside, the city glowed, not with power, not with excess, but with care. And somewhere in that fragile network of borrowed flames, the future learned Hoth again.